So, welcome back. This is episode 4. Man, can't believe it, huh? So, the last couple episodes we've talked about quite a bit. But let me ask you something. You ever spent so much time trying to survive the storm that when it was finally over, you didn't know what to do next? Have you spent weeks, months, maybe even years fighting to hold your life together, holding on to the relationships, holding on to the dreams or the future you pictured in your head? And then one day it's over. Storm passes. The phone stops ringing. The arguments stop. The tears eventually slow down. And you're left standing there, looking around, trying to figure out who you are. Nobody really talks about that part. People tell you how to survive the storm, but very few people tell you how to rebuild after it. And I've learned something about the storms. They don't just change your circumstances, sometimes they change you. The person who walks into the storm usually isn't the same person who walks out. Sometimes you're stronger, sometimes you're more cautious, sometimes you're more grateful, but sometimes you're carrying scars that nobody else can see. But here's what I want you to know: scars don't mean you're broken, they mean you survived. I've walked through seasons where I questioned everything. I questioned relationships, I questioned my future, myself. And I remember sitting alone after long days, just wondering, now what? Where do I go from here? What does my life look like now? Maybe you've asked yourself those same questions. Maybe you're asking them today. And if you are, I want you to know something. This episode is for you because today we're not talking about the storm. We're talking about what comes after it. We're talking about finding purpose again. We're talking about taking the broken pieces of your life and realizing they can become the foundation of something even stronger. One thing I've learned through the fire service is this: every fire leaves something behind. Sometimes it's destruction, sometimes it's damage, but eventually someone starts rebuilding brick by brick, board by board, day by day. Life works the same way. After heartbreak, after loss, after disappointment, and after failure, you rebuild. Not overnight, not perfectly, but one decision at a time. And that's what this episode is about. It's about the courage to begin again. So, wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving to work, sitting in your truck, walking through your own storm, or trying to figure out what tomorrow looks like, I want you to know you're welcome here. Take a deep breath, leave the pressure at the door. For the next little while, let's rebuild together. Welcome back to Through the Fire. Let's talk about it. Can I tell you something that nobody prepared for? Sometimes the hardest thing to grieve isn't losing a person, it's losing the future you had imagined. We spend so much of our lives building pictures in our heads, pictures of who we'll become, who we'll marry, the family we'll have, the career we'll build, the home we'll live. Like, there's so much, and then life happens. And one phone call, one decision, one goodbye, one unexpected turn, and suddenly the future you spent years imagining no longer exists. That kind of grief is hard to explain, and nobody else can see it. They didn't lose your dream, you did. I know what it's like to picture a future, only to watch it disappear. And for a while, I didn't know what to do with that pain. Like, I kept asking myself, what now? And maybe you've asked yourself that too. Maybe life looks nothing like you thought it would. If that's where you are, I want to tell you something. And I wish someone told me it's okay to grieve the life you thought you'd have. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But don't stay there forever because while one chapter may have ended, your story hasn't. The next chapter is still waiting to be written. Sometimes the future never expected becomes better than the one you had planned. Think about it. It's never done. Your book's never done. You got to keep writing. Stop asking yourself, why me? And look for the positive. There's one question I think every one of us has asked, and that is why me? Why did this happen? Why did they leave? Why did I lose my job? Why did my plans fall apart? Or why couldn't life just go the way I thought it would? And for a long time, I asked those same questions. And every time I did, I stayed stuck because why me has a way of keeping your eyes on the pain. Then one day I started asking different questions. What is this trying to teach me? That question changed everything because life may not always make sense, but every hardship has something to teach us. If we're willing to learn, maybe it teaches patience, maybe humility, maybe resilience, maybe compassion. Maybe it teaches us that our identity can't be built on one relationship, one job, or one season of life. Maybe it teaches us that who we are is far bigger than what we've lost. I still don't believe everything happens for a reason, but I do believe we can find purpose in what happens. And sometimes the greatest purpose comes from the greatest pain. If you're walking through a difficult season today, don't let one chapter convince you the book is over. You're still writing it, one page, one decision, one day at a time. And one day you'll look back and realize the storm didn't destroy you, it introduced you to a stranger version of yourself. Keep going. You're closer than you think. One of the biggest lies I've ever believed was that when life fell apart, my purpose disappeared. I thought if the relationship ended, if the plans changed, if the future I imagined never happened, then somehow I'd lost who I was. But I was wrong. Purpose doesn't leave. Sometimes it just changes the direction. Think about a wildfire for a second. When the fire is finally out, all you see is destruction, burned trees, black ground, smoke, ash. If you stopped looking right there, you'd think nothing good could ever grow again. But nature tells a different story. Some forests actually need fire. The heat breaks open seeds that would have stayed closed forever. New life begins. Because of what looked like complete destruction, I think our lives can work the same way. Sometimes the very thing we thought would destroy us ends up revealing something we never knew was inside us. After some of the hardest seasons of my life, I started asking myself one question every morning. What's one thing I can do today that matters? Not next year, not next month, but today. Some days the answer was simple: go to work, call my family, or help someone who needed it. Go to the gym, read a chapter of a book, pray, take a walk, record a podcast. None of those things changed my life overnight, but together they changed the direction of my life. That's how purpose grows, not through one giant moment, through hundreds of small decisions. People ask me sometimes why I still serve, why I still choose to help people. The answer is simple: because helping someone else has a way of reminding you that your life still matters. Service has a funny way of healing the person who's giving it. And maybe that's why I've never been able to walk away from it. Whether it was the fire service or driving a tow truck, sitting behind this mic, like the mission has always been the same: helping people. If one person has a better day because of something I said, then today was worth it. Maybe your purpose doesn't look like mine. Maybe you're raising children. Maybe you're building a business. Maybe you're caring for your parents or coaching kids. Maybe you're the person who always checks on everyone else. Don't underestimate that. Purpose isn't measured by how many people you know or how many people know your name. It's measured by the difference you make in the lives you touch. If you've been waiting for life to go back to the way it was, and I understand I've been there, but maybe life isn't asking you to go backwards. Maybe it's inviting you to build something new. Not because the old dream didn't matter, but because there's another dream waiting on the other side of this season. This podcast is part of that dream for me. A few years ago, I never imagined I'd be sitting here talking into a microphone, sharing my story, sharing my struggles, or trying to encourage people I've never even met. But here we are. And maybe you're here for a reason too. Maybe today is the day you stop surviving and start rebuilding. Not perfectly, not at all at once, just one brick at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time. Before we move on, I want you to do something for me. Think about one thing you can do when this episode ends that moves your life forward. Maybe it's making a phone call, or applying for a new job, or just forgiving yourself. Maybe it's asking for help, or simply getting out of bed. Whatever it is, that's your next step. Take it, because purpose isn't waiting for you at the finish line. Purpose is found in the next faithful step. And I promise you this, if you keep taking those steps, one day you'll look back and realize the storm didn't take your purpose, it revealed it. So we'll be right back with the next part of this. Can I ask you one last question? What if the only thing standing between the life you're living and the life you're capable of living is one more step? Not one giant leap, not changing everything overnight, just one more step. I think we make life harder than it has to be. Sometimes we look at the mountain, the debt, the heartbreak, the addiction, the diagnosis, the loneliness, the future, and we tell ourselves, I don't even know where to begin. The truth is, you don't have to see the whole road. You only have to see the next step. When I first joined the fire department at 13 years old, I wasn't thinking about becoming a lieutenant. I wasn't thinking about leading people. I was thinking about making it through my first training, learning something new, showing up, doing the next right thing. Looking back now, I realize my life wasn't changed by one huge moment. It was changed by thousands of small ones. One class, one decision, one conversation, one lesson, one opportunity, and one more step. The same thing is true for healing. People ask me, how do you move on? And the answer is this: you don't wake up one morning completely healed. You heal one choice at a time, one honest conversation, one day without giving up, one prayer, one workout, one phone call, and one act of forgiveness. Healing isn't an event, it's a process. And every process begins with a single step. Maybe today your step is simply deciding you're not going to quit, or your step is asking someone for help. Maybe it's finally letting go of something you've been carrying for years, or maybe it's choosing to believe just for today that your story isn't over. Whatever your step is, take it, because movement creates momentum and momentum creates change. I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me years ago, and you don't have to have your whole life figured out. I know social media makes it look like everyone else has it together. Trust me, they don't. Every person you admire is still growing, still learning, and still making mistakes, still trying to become a better version of themselves. The difference is they didn't stop. One of my favorite lessons from the fire service is this: when conditions get bad, you don't panic, you slow down. You trust your training, you trust your crew, and you keep moving with purpose. Life works the same way. When everything around you feels uncertain, slow down. Focus on the next right decision. Don't let fear make your choices. Let your values make them. Maybe you've been waiting for life to get easier before you move forward. What if it never does? What if courage isn't the absence of fear? What if courage is taking one more step while you're still afraid? I think that's what courage really looks like. Not perfection, not confidence, faithfulness, showing up anyway, trying again anyway, believing again anyway. So here's my challenge for you. When this episode ends, write down one thing, just one. What's next? What's the next step in your life is asking you to take? Not someone else's, yours. Then do it. Not tomorrow, not today, not next week. Just build your decisions to make today, not somebody else's, but do it to make you feel better. Make your decisions account for something. You're not too broken. You're not too late. You're not too far gone. As long as you're still breathing, there's still another step to take. And that's all I'm asking you to do. One more step. Because one day you'll look back and realize it wasn't one giant decision that changed your life. It was the decision to keep walking. We'll be right back for the final thought. We talked about storms, we've talked about the heartbreak, we've talked about rebuilding, and we've talked about purpose. But before we end today, there's one thing I want to leave you with. Life will knock you down. Sometimes when you least expect it, sometimes in ways you never saw coming. There will be days you question yourself, days you question your future, days you wonder if you'll ever feel like yourself again. And if that day comes, I want you to remember this: conversations, not because I said anything extraordinary, but because I hope you remember one simple truth. You are not defined by what people say or what happened to you. You're defined by what you choose to do next. I don't know what storm you're walking through today. Maybe nobody else even knows. Maybe you're carrying it in silence. Maybe you're smiling for everyone around you while quietly wondering how much longer you can keep pretending. If that's you, I want you to hear me. You don't have to pretend here. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to have your whole future figured out. You only have to believe that tomorrow is worth showing up for. One of the greatest lessons the fire service ever taught me is that after every fire, someone starts rebuilding, not because it's easy, not because they're ready, because hope always begins with one direction: the decision to begin. That's where every comeback starts. As I look back on my own life, I've realized something. Some of the moments I wanted to erase ended up becoming the moments that shaped me the most. I mean, the heartbreak, the failures, the disappointments, the uncertainty. I wouldn't choose them again, but I wouldn't be who I am without them. They taught me humility. They taught me that strength isn't about never falling apart. Strength is about choosing to stand back up again and again and again. If this episode has taught you anything, I hope it's this: your purpose is still alive, your story is still being written, and your best chapter may not be behind you, it may be the one you're about to start. Before we go, I want to leave you with a challenge. When this episode ends, do one thing that your future self will thank you for. Whether it's a phone call, a walk, applying for a new job, saying you're sorry, or forgiving somebody. Maybe it's forgiving yourself. Write down your goals. Pray. Ask for help. Whatever your next step is, take it. Because every meaningful journey begins exactly the same way, with one decision. I started through the fire because I needed a reminder that I wasn't walking alone. Maybe you did too. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who's going through their own storm. You never know when one conversation, one story, or one act of kindness might become the reason. You never know what one person is going through. So thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey. This isn't the end. It's another step forward. And I'm grateful you're taking it with me. So until next time, remember this. Storms don't last forever, and neither does pain. Healing takes time, and growth takes courage and purpose. Purpose has a way of finding those who refuse to quit. If nobody told you today, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for making it this far. And I'm proud of you for continuing to fight. And no matter what you're facing, I want you to remember these words. If nobody told you today, I'm glad you're still here. Keep walking through the fire. I'm Colton, and this is Through the Fire. We'll see you in the next episode.